Good Fukushima morning, folks. Hope you've got a cup of coffee nearby. Maybe it's lunchtime by the time you see this. I'm going to attach a link to a PDF file from the IAEA. Now, this document was published in 2015, 4 years after the Fukushima event. It is an IAEA publication put together by their experts, their folks, their people, and this is, if you science, baseline information. Now you can argue how accurate or how good it is, or what it's missing, or some of the assumptions inside the document, but those are conversations should be had. Maybe. So where I primarily focused in this document is the inventory, the reactor fuel inventory, section 1.4, I think. Could be wrong. So that is the baseline assumptions of what was in the reactor cores at the time of the accident. Now, if you go through the document, I think you'll find there were 4 models used. These are big software models out in the realm of supercomputer land and massive databases to build knowledge sets, knowledge references up. So those numbers are the basis of other things generated by these accidents, like plume models. So a plume model is another huge software application that takes into account the weather at different altitudes, the speed of the wind, the humidity. Humidity is a huge part of this conversation. Atmospherics. So how those isotopes, not all of them are radioactive either. They're heavy metals. They are not necessarily good for the organic species, life on the planet. So in that section, I said that's where I looked to see the potential for what was released. Now, yes, it's 4 years after the accident, but if you read through this 800-page document, it steps through the work being done. The history of the event is they documented it anyway, and the accumulation of information that just adds to what we understand, how we understand how these elements and the isotopes of those elements react in the world around them, the planet's environment. So this isn't just genetic damage. This is a bit more than that. It's potential poisoning from the lead, from the mercury, from arsenic, from many other of the fallout, the final results of those decay elements. So then you go and you search. So you've got this as a basis back in 2015, but you'd been watching all the information separately prior to this, right? So for 4 years, you've just watched the slow, methodical process that science requires to build a good knowledge set, a good body of information, body of knowledge, let's say, institutional knowledge, corporate knowledge, so planet knowledge. So that's the basis of the considerations, the conversations I try to have, is that release inventory. You can pick that apart however you like. let me know. But you can't ignore those other isotopes. So, again, it's not light reading, but it's real reading. So, that is a good list of what happened. Again, those numbers go into other modeling software. This is AutoCAD on steroids. It is Deluxe Paint tied with AutoCAD on steroids. It is your best video game done better than you can imagine. So it shows us the weather on television also. So you take that piece of information that they're giving us, that they're providing, that they are supplying, and try to make heads or tails of it. It's harder to follow than the impeachment stuff, but there you go. So come back with a question about what's in that document, and let's see if we can figure out what it means. So you keep looking for the notes, the other pieces of information that could be related to the event. You take note that one organization, one research group out there found buckyballs, which are a lot of times a carbon wrapping around a plutonium cluster. If you want to study buckyballs, a good place to go is to the college that's working out with the Hanford Reservation area. And they work with these folks. They work with the Bechtel. They work with the Raytheon that's building nuclear detectors for cargo inspections. They get PhDs and doctorates for studying how to make a buckyball. And there's other ways of doing it. But the fact the buckyball contains plutonium and was documented as released some good distance from the plant. That's another paper. That's another reference. If you want to put pieces together, you can go search for those types of unconnected information that, because of the sciences used, the methodology used, can be shown to be relative. So if the plutonium disbursement was consistent across an area, it would make sense to watch the medical records of the individuals that lived in that area. How do you manage transients if you have a large workforce transiting through an area, say the cleanup crew, or say the Tokyo Olympics crews that are out there building in this, the groundbreakers that start construction? Should they know about that and worry about it? A friend is doing a good reading through of a citizen science document that's doing Becquerel testing on soil samples. They have built a pretty solid referential database that is related to Sievert's readings, so that Becquerel reading of soil has a relationship to Sievert's readings, taken by a SafeCast user as one example, taken by any other person out there with a detector. A lot of people don't log this data. They can't because there's technical difficulties. There is personal concerns over even speaking to this, that folks don't want to come out and be public. So this is kind of a long one. Again, I'm going to attach in the description. And if you want to speak to that document, great. If you want to share that document, great. What I would suggest doing is looking at some of the reference materials and see if there's diagrams or land maps or references to those resources to start comparing one map to the other. Instead of saying one thing is wrong, look at it as, is there a relationship? If I see twice the sieverts in an area, is the soil twice as contaminated? If not, you could ask more questions. So, peace out. This isn't late reading. There's as many pages in this book as some other books people reference, which makes it intriguing. Peace out. Coffee time.